Hey, this is Mike, and you're watching the Real Black Podcast. And today we have two great guests, and we're going to talk about two new films that are out now on Netflix. True Story, starring Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes, and Bruise, the directorial debut of Halle Berry. And with us on the line, we have Miss Tanya Pendleton and MC Breeze. Tanya is a contributing editor to The Grio and WHYY. And MC Breeze is the legendary producer, Philly legend, producer, filmmaker, musician, songwriter, and a good friend. Both are good friends. And I know that we're going to have fun chopping it up about these two new movies that are on Netflix. The first one, True Story, with Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes. I kind of liked it. What about you guys? Tanya, you go first.
I couldn't stop watching. Once you started on that first episode, you were hooked and you were going to stay that way through all seven.
Oh, you binged it? I had to take breaks.
I took a little bit of a break. I had a few spoilers because I was watching on mute at a friend's house, or they had it on. And so that kind of messed up at least one of the two big spoilers, but it was still compelling. And I watched, I think, the first four and then went to sleep and then got up and watched the next three.
Right. I think it picked up after the third episode. But Breeze, what were your thoughts?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And for me, when I look at productions like that, it's almost, I like anything that has anything to do with production. And when it comes to like even a Johnny Cash movie, like something where a person develops from being young to getting a deal to what he had to go through to get to that point. And for me, it was just it was like a way to look into the life of a star and the stuff that they have to go through, and being an artist and knowing how your family can just get all kind of bunkers. It definitely appealed to me. You guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just isolating you. Yeah, no, for those who haven't seen it, we're not going to play the trailer, but basically Kevin Hart is basically playing the kid who's sort of a version of what we know as Kevin Hart's celebrity and fame. And he's come back to Philadelphia to perform some shows for the opening of his tour. And he runs into some trouble that is in no small way intertwined with his brother, played by Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Wesley Snipes is just, he's adding a lot of late career bomb performances to that resume. I mean, he has been killing it lately, from Dolomite all the way through to True Story. He really is. I mean, Wesley had the acting chops, obviously, and you're always going to expect to get a great performance from him. But in this one, oh my goodness, you were just like, this guy has epitomized everybody's. Can I curse? Everybody's F up brother that is ever existed from all time. Like, everybody knows this dude. Everybody has this dude in their family. So it was just amazing to see him play it out and do it really in kind of a restrained kind of way.
Yeah. I like that you said restrained, because you could tell there was some semblance of love, but the crook in him just took over. I mean it. But first of all, let's give kudos to Kevin for wanting to be on screen with such an iconic actor. You got people like Will who do everything in his life to stay away from those kind of actors. If you look at any movies that Will is in, there's no actor in the movie that's like above his caliber of talent. It's always pretty much just a lot of B movie, C movie guys. For Kevin to be brave enough to be on screen with Wesley Snipes, I think that shows a lot about his first of all, he's giving back, because he's a bigger name, bigger talent, not bigger talent in terms of making money. And he would go back and get this guy who knows that can act him under the table and put him in the same film with him. I mean, a lot of actors are terrified of that. They don't want to be on screen. They don't want to be upstaged. And he held his own. He really held his own.
Definitely. No, he definitely. He definitely felt like a Philly, young, still in the hood, still both feet in the hood. Kevin reveals that he still can bring some hood out at certain points during the story. But
I think the hardest thing to try to be is yourself when the cameras come on. I mean, just be you. And he's actually done a great job of being himself and kind of like applying his life to that film. For me, it was awesome. It was twisted in there where I could have swore it was going to go one way, and it went totally the opposite way in a positive way. I don't want to give up too much, but some stuff that you thought that you would see, I think that a person typically would do, like certain scenarios when they're in the room with a certain other color, how they would react and really pretty much lean toward that other color. And instead of doing that, it's times that he went the opposite. It's like, oh wow. I said this is about to fall apart. And he still maintained being a good guy. Like to a certain extent. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Talk about that, Tanya, because I know, before this, we discussed the character, the manager, and the tension, the conflict that the manager and Wesley's character was having.
I was like the person in the hood movie theater, because I was actually yelling at the screen at certain points. And so many times I was yelling at the character, the manager. I think it's Paul Adelstein that plays him, who I actually know from Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce. So he starred on that. He's a writer, he's an actor, I think, and a producer. And so he plays the character of Kevin's manager. And I think, just knowing what I know about celebrity entourages and being around them, he played an extremely accurate version of that kind of character, because you got the sense that he wanted to protect his artist, but at the same time, we all know that the dynamic of that relationship is that you're also protecting your check. So if Kid is working and if Kid is doing what he's supposed to be doing, you're going to continue to make money. Whereas I think the other people in the entourage around him had different motivations. But the interesting part of it, of course, is that window onto what it is like to be a celebrity and have every single person in your life trying to get a piece of you in one way or another, except for maybe the wife, and maybe, without dropping any spoilers, maybe there was another character that seemed to have the kid's best interest at heart. But how things played out, you even have to wonder about that. And so the complexities and the layers of all of that as it relates to celebrity. I mean, there were scenes where there were encounters that you kind of knew his celebrity was going to help him get out of. And so that was fascinating as well.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a pulp novel, page turner, film noir kind of thing. Definitely works well with the TV model. I think it, as if I were to compare it to other film noirs, it's not that deep. Like I said, I couldn't get into the first couple episodes because I was so uncomfortable, because I read the twist too early like I could see it coming a mile away, and I don't know if that was intentional on the filmmaker's part, like for repeat viewings, if you're going to see more into it, and once you're aware of the twist, that they're kind of transparent with it. But it really shifts into gear when Leo Rossi shows up, and I want to give him his props, because I think he's one of the best things in the movie. Gene, behind the scenes Gene character.
That was awesome. But yeah, I saw the twist. I kind of saw the twist early too, but then it twisted again. It was like, wow, like who would have thought? Just his, Kev's reaction, like what he went through. It's like almost like what I always talk about. Even when we talk about sports, I always hated it when a sports announcer talks about a guy is trash or he's nothing. And it's actually like digging into the heart of a man, like what a man is, or what that man is. But some people, you'll never see them until they're pushed to a certain point. And it seems like when Kev was pushed into those points, the way he handled it was just like, I didn't see that coming. Like, I didn't know that was.
Well, do you feel like it was acting or if it was just wish fulfillment? Because he did have a scandal that was sort of similar that could have damaged his career a few years back.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not so much on those scenarios. I'm talking about the drastic measures and the things that he did,
or what people will do
that he did, and what you could be pushed towards, you know. And it just questions a lot of things. I think it's a great, you know, the management in his dynamic. I think it's great for artists that are coming into the industry to understand that they do have word and say so in their own career. They can put their foot down for the things that matter to them. And I was like, wow, this, for me, that was just awesome. And the way, you know, the dynamic with the girlfriend, I thought that was beautiful. That could have been your typical thing that we always see in a lot of different Black tales, but the way they handled the relationship, I thought was awesome. It to me, it said a lot about that type of man, you know what I mean? And they do exist. And that's what films do. Like, they'll tell you, that they'll show you what exists, and sometimes you go, wow, I didn't even know that kind of guy existed in this kind of scenario. And I was happy. I was happy to see his responses.
You know, Breeze, I gotta ask you though, it sounds like you rooted for the kid. And I think that's interesting because
and you know what? It's almost, if you will check my perspective, like Rocky, let's say the Rocky V movie. A lot of people couldn't relate to Rocky V because it was about an artist that had it all, lost it all, and came home. I can relate to that movie because I had it all, lost it all, and came home. I'm looking at the kid as me as an artist and having to deal with that stuff. So some people might not see it because they haven't been in that position. You haven't been like the product as a human being. Most people are not going to be the actual product in their life, where you got people actually like depending on you, pitting you against different people for their advantage. And I've lived that lifestyle. So I'm like, yo, like, you know, like I can actually relate to this because I've been there, you know.
I think for me, it was complicated. I found myself rooting for Carlton a lot of the time, and only because I felt that his character really exemplified what you go through as an artist when you get so much more success than other people in your family, and what you have to deal with when that happens, and how, you know, there's a scene in the movie, I don't think that this is a spoiler, where someone passes a camera to the character of Carlton and basically just completely is very disrespectfully engaging with him by saying, hey, take this picture with me and the kid, you know, just. And so all of that illustrates what happens to family and the people around the main artist. But, you know, the thing is, and it's so challenging to talk about this because we don't want to drop spoilers, but the question is, whose actions really take this movie to the next level, or to the level of challenges that they have to overcome? Is it the kids' actions or is it Carlton's actions? Because there obviously are things that both of them do that drive these challenges that they have to deal with forward. And then you do get to see the dynamics that are fascinating with an artist in an entourage when you're African American and you're successful. And how I felt every time the manager opened his mouth to basically say, you know, get your brother out of here and we don't have to deal with him and he's a mess, you know, he's messing everything up for us, when I know that the brother might have been there for times that you can't even imagine. And you're here basically, yes, you have loyalty to the artist. Yes, you're doing things to protect the artist and the brand. But at the end of the day, you're there because you're getting paid as that artist gets paid. So that may be, in many times, despite his choices, feel for Carlton.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think, I mean, the casting, it's reflective of Kevin's real life circle, like his manager is a Caucasian guy. Do you think that adds a layer to the way you're reading the film when you see him having sort of white handlers and then his family is is something he's got to be loyal to?
That's an excellent question and observation, because if you think about it from the perspective, if suppose the manager was black, would the Carlton thing, like, would you have the same empathy? If it wasn't like Kevin siding with the whole racial thing of white is right, which is some people believe that, like, if like you tell, it's funny, like somebody will say, okay, I got a deal from a guy, he's going to hook me up and he's going to give me a contract, and the first thing a lot of black people will say is he white or black, which is like, you know, and if the person says he's black, it's like, oh god, here comes some bull crap, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, right. So I think that's a really interesting point you just made. Like would you,
well, you know, his bodyguard's black.
Would you have as much empathy if the manager was black? I could see that.
Well, I mean, I think in the nature of the film, I mean, it's reflective of his real life circle. Dave Becky is his manager, but you know, so it's almost like you have to question the title when he says "true story." That's like one of the things that he says a lot in his stand-up act, like when he's true story, raccoon down in my driveway, and then he'll do a whole bit about it. But then you start to wonder, well, could this have really happened in his real life? You know, because it's so close, the dynamics are so close to his reality. Wow. He's not really playing someone that far distance from himself in this movie.
Right. And if the fascinating thing about True Story was that it was much more interesting and layered than when Kevin did his own reality show. That reality show, I was tempted to turn it off in whatever 2 or 3 episodes, I forget how many it was, but True Story was compelling all the way through. So maybe when you fictionalize your real life, you do those beats and those points that make it more entertaining and more interesting, because in his real life, it was like, this is not that exciting. But I will say what you said, Breeze, I think is so fascinating to consider, because if a manager is black, do they understand the dynamics of a family so much better? Because in this True Story scenario, we're presented with Kevin or Kid and this one brother. You don't see a mother, a father, or anybody else who is part of the family. So you're really just dealing with these two individuals. Like, you know, no mom ever calls and says, how you boys doing? No brothers or cousins or aunts ask for tickets to any of these shows. So it almost seems as though, and that does reflect Kevin's real life, I believe, that he has that one brother. And so how then is this brother pushed off so to the side? Because it's also really interesting that this project that the brother continues to talk about during the course of the story, this restaurant that he's doing, that you don't ever know how far along that project is until later in the film. And it's kind of surprising when you actually see how that plays out. So, you know, there were just, yes, the brother, obviously. And, you know, Wesley was so, what's the word I'm looking for? He was so fidgety. And so, you know, he just played that role so well. Like this guy that, you know, was going to be successful, and then he kind of wasn't, but then his brother blew up, but he blew up because of his encouragement. Maybe the brother deferred some dreams to push him along. There's a scene that suggests that. And then the white guy or the white manager comes along and says, hey, this guy is a completely a jerk, and push him completely out of your life, as opposed to saying, hey, how much do you think we could give this guy so that he can get some of what he needs, and we don't have to deal with him, you know, to this level, maybe, you know?
Right.
It's just, it was a very interestingly played dynamic.
Yeah. And you know, to back up what you're saying, they only had to deal with one family member. I mean, but as we know, one family member can explode an entire family.
True.
Multiple generations. True. I've seen it. One family member who, you know, I've seen a situation where a mother doesn't want a sister, her daughter, to talk to her sister because the mother is mad at the sister.
Right.
So they're not supposed to communicate, because if you say hello to her, then that's disrespect to me. And now you got sisters trying to, and both of them want to be accepted by their mom. So it's, but it's definitely, you know, from your perspective, just watching it and you're not really knowing what's going on. There were scenes where I was like, wow, I really cared for Carlton, because, and I was happy there were times where I was happy that Kevin had his back. You know what I mean? And then
right.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, but I was more leaning towards I was leaning more towards Kevin and like his personality and dealing with this stuff like a man. You know what I mean? It seemed like he dealt with it and not like a child, you know, and it was just like, it was, for me, that was great. And I guess how long he's been popular? He's had some experience in dealing with different family members and friends, and like Carlton could have been like 8 people,
right,
in life.
right, yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So he got a lot off his chest with this one movie.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Next time you call me wanting some money, go take a look at Netflix.
Right.
It's just like, see what I'm capable of.
Yeah, he got to do some preachy little speeches in there, which I thought was awesome for upcoming comedians, upcoming artists, for people coming up, you know, and just I was like, yo, this, for me, it was great. It was so many different pieces and parts, and I just hope younger people can appreciate it. You know, and I guess it all depends on your life experiences too.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But so much of the story hangs on kids' actions. Although we would look at the story and say that it hangs on Carlton's actions, so much of the story ends on the kids' actions and how at the end of the day, there was literally nothing this man wouldn't do to make sure that he kept his career going.
Exactly. And then, you know, I felt that. And I always talk about, me and my wife always talk about these 5-minute movies. Like if in the first scene, if he did one thing, everything would have went away. But I mean, all movies are like that. It's like, if you just did one thing,
there's no story.
The movie be over in 5 minutes, you know.
Right.
But and sometimes, and then when it gets, you know, as the plot thickens and things go on, a couple of times I reverted back to the first thing. It's like, man, you really should have did that first thing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's like, because it just kept, it was so surprising. Even my wife couldn't really figure out, and she's like, she'll figure out a movie in like 6 minutes. She'll go, okay, he did it. And I'm like, how the hell do you do that? Yeah, she couldn't really do that with this. It was like really, it was compelling. It made you want to watch it. Some of the drama, like I usually fast forward through drama, like long, like, yeah, and one day I was blah 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 blah, and it goes on and on. All right, did you do it or didn't? Fast forward, but I wanted to watch this man do his thing, you know. And I'm thinking of all these thoughts in there. Wow, he's holding on in this movie.
And really shout out to Kevin for setting it in Philadelphia.
Oh, that was classic.
Well, fake Philadelphia.
Even the music, Gamble and Huff, like, whoa.
Yeah, Gamble and Huff got a check.
Yo, Philly International was all over this thing, all over it. I was like, yo, go ahead, Kev. That's how you pay tribute to your hometown.
Except that he did not shoot it in Philadelphia, and that irks my soul.
I know he didn't, because there was one scene. I had my wife. I'm not going to say the street.
The Spring Garden Street thing.
No, it wasn't Spring Garden. Now I'm gonna say the street. I don't think that's too much of a spoiler. Yeah, it was 41st and Spruce.
41st and Spruce. Yes.
I'm telling my wife, I said, that ain't 41st and Spruce
at all,
right? And so she's like, and my wife, like, she's like, well, why would it? You know, she's like, well, why did they do that if it's not it? I said, look, babe, I don't know where they shot this, but that's not 41st.
Not at all. Tell Mrs. MC Breeze that was not 41st.
Oh yeah, we looked it up. My wife is.
I went to Google's map. Went to Google Maps.
And she's like trying to give it credit. It's like, well, maybe that building there. I said, no, I know 41st and Spruce. I'm from down the bottom. That is not 41st and Spruce. That building is, you know. So it was, but that was like, but it was dope to have that stuff in there. And then like Philly, Philly was all over it.
It wasn't 41st and Spruce. It was not the Four Seasons in Philadelphia. No. It was not the Wells Fargo Center, nor the tunnel of the Wells Fargo Center. I said it must have just been a scheduling thing. So they did all the establishing shots. Of course, you see the highway, you see the, City Hall, and then you see them driving down what looks like Broad Street, but it looked like maybe it was like a green screen version of Broad Street or something. But Philadelphia was such a character in the movie that to figure out as the episodes went on that they didn't actually shoot in Philly, that kind of did irk my soul. Because Philly was really a character in the film. Because all of the manager guy, once again, is saying, Todd was his name, the character. He kept saying, we got to get out of Philly. We got to get out of Philly. Well, you're not even in Philly.
Oh, stop. Wow. Stop. Look, somebody got a check for flying the drone over the river.
Right,
oh, yeah.
Right.
So look, I'm moving to Vegas and I'm already thinking about stuff I want to shoot that has Philly footage in it. And I'm already got... I know I'm gonna have to call somebody and tell them to go out and get their drone to get an establishing shot. But
wait, so you're gonna do the same thing? It'd be like desert outside the window, and you're gonna be saying we're 41st and
superimpose the buildings. I mean, look.
Oh, you do a better job. That's right.
Where's that mountain in Philly?
Borrow that fake 41st and Spruce set from Kevin Hart. Maybe he'll let you hold that.
And shout out to Eric Newman, who's the creator of the show. And I hope that they do another season, because I think this was a nice parlay for Kevin to really to show his serious acting chops. Like we've seen him before in The Upside and some other movies where he's done stuff. The Russ Parr movie where he did where he played the stand-up comedian. He did some dramatic stuff, but I think extending his range beyond just being the sidekick in the big budget movies, but being the captain of his own ship, I think is really a nice move. And he, whoever directed it did a good job, because he's prone to jump into these rants, and they were minimalized. Like a lot of the Kevin Hart tics that like make me uncomfortable sometimes were minimized. And he played to his strengths. So
well, Wesley said when they approached him to do it that he thought it was going to be a comedy, and Wesley, you could just hear like OG Wesley, like, I ain't doing no damn comedy, nigga. And so when he said, he said, I'll do it, but y'all got to take it seriously. And he was expressing that he had some acting tricks in his bag that he could work with Kevin on, but said that Kevin really didn't need those tricks. He didn't need to pass those tricks along to him, that he did take the role and the work seriously. And I think you do see it in what is a fairly nuanced performance from Kevin. But you also referenced Theo Rossi early, who plays behind the scenes Gene, who a lot of folks know from playing the role in the biker gang in the FX series Sons of Anarchy. Or was it FX? I think it was FX. And he obviously has a large capacity for being tortured on screen, because the way that his character went in Sons of Anarchy was pretty also awful. But this arc that he plays in this particular story is very much so in line with our celebrity obsessed culture, and the fact that there are so many behind the scenes genes that every actor, actress, really any kind of celebrity personality at this point has those obsessed fans that they see at every stop, that they're there with the poster and the pen and all that kind of stuff. And how his character falls into this series is beyond compelling, because you both feel sorry for him, and then you also feel, it's really kind of edgy. There's this one scene where the two of them interact, and at this point the kid has to kind of convince him to do something, and just the way he talks to him is just cringe. It's cringy, because that he's using this man's kind of mental disorder, whatever it is that makes you become obsessed to that degree with someone else. I mean, I'm in the, as Mike knows, I'm in the Prince fan community, so I get that to a certain degree, but certainly, this character was above and beyond. But we all know folks like that, and what gets them, what creates that person, and what is it about the nature of celebrity that makes this something that every celebrity has to contend with, and then just how he gets used in the story is just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. You know, I think the Eric Newman and the writers, they clearly have studied their film noirs and their celebrity sweet smile success type movies where you see ruthless characters that are willing to do anything to maintain or achieve fame, you know. So you know, so final thoughts before we get into the next movie. I mean, thumbs up, thumbs down, scale of 1 to 10.
This is a must see. And I wanted to say Kev did something similar in a series. There was a web app. There was a phone app where you could put 10-minute movies on the app as an independent writer, independent content creator. And Kev did a movie which was like a series of 10-minute pieces. I forgot what the name of it was, but
yeah,
he had on this platform. The platform ended up going away, but Kev did. He had some cool actors in it. My memory for that stuff is like crazy, but it was like really interesting. It's like, wow, like this you can actually put in. They were taking anything 10 minutes or less, or 3 minutes or less, or something like that, and he put together, it was like 8 or 9 of them, and so he did that too. And on the character behind the scene, Gene, you know, it was definitely up and down with him, but at the end I was I don't want to spoil it, but he was you know, he was smart. He was smart, and you know, his character definitely touched me in a way. It's like, wow, you know what I mean? When you talk about what people will go through and what people will do for you, you know, and because of you, I was like, wow, that was deep.
So scale of 1 to 10, I give True Story 6.5, 7. I'll give it a 7.
I'll give it a 7 to a 7.5. I think it's very compelling storytelling, and particularly as it relates to the layers of celebrity. And really, you're looking at Kevin Hart skewer his own image, you know, and making a statement about celebrity and celebrity culture while being a celebrity. So that, you know, it's the layers, and particularly with the scandals that he's dealt with, you know, you wonder what was going on behind the scenes in some of these scenarios. And also I was thinking, because the title is True Story, and there were so many other titles that could have been used to convey this drama, you have to wonder if there's anyone that we know of right now that we like and revere who went through this scenario, you know, in some way, shape, or form. Was there a literal body buried somewhere for some of these folks to maintain their fame? I mean,
some locker room talk going on somewhere.
You know, internet conspiracy theories will tell you that there are, but we don't really know that for sure. But it does make for a lot of guessing games, if you will.
It makes you think. It makes you think. I definitely remember thinking like that. Like, wow, I wonder who actually, you know, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to lose. A lot of status to lose. He put a lot of time in. I mean, and knowing his history, you know, because one of my best friends, Tommy Too Smooth, is a comedian, and like I know a lot of Kev's history. How it almost like he spent a lot of years in obscurity,
right,
working his behind off,
to
get to that point. You know, so I don't know how to judge a movie in a number scale. I just say it's high in terms of going to go see it. You know, I think people should see it. I think we should have more dramas like this that don't just fall into your typical thing that we're used to seeing with filmmakers. And I think it was a huge challenge, a huge chance that he took. I think it's worth seeing it.
And it was good to see the characters have agency. You know, there was a moment where you thought, well, maybe somebody will step in and solve this thing for them, you know.
Right.
Or they'll make some sort of compromise. But no, you got to see a full character arc on both Kevin and Wesley's characters. So
yes, you did.
So, and I finished it, which is something I can't always claim. I can't always claim on a Netflix is that I finished all the episodes, you know. So it was just the right size. You know, seven episodes was just the right size for me to be able to be like, okay, you know, like Underground Railroad, I'm sorry, you know, as good as that may be, I can't claim, you know, I'll never know because I just don't have 12 hours of my life to put into that. But So, we're going to jump into Bruised in a minute. Stay tuned. So, Real Black Podcast, we're back. As we saw, Kevin Hart in True Story has family issues and dysfunction that he's dealing with, and he finds a way to offer a solution. And in Halle Berry's new movie, Bruised, we're also dealing with family trauma, generational issues, and so forth. In her directorial debut, she plays Jackie, Pretty Bull Justice, a disgraced MMA fighter who has to redeem herself, find self-respect, and heal the relationship that she has with her long estranged son. And with us, we have once again Tanya Pendleton and MC Breeze to discuss Bruised. So, who wants to go first? What did you guys think of this one?
I dug it. It was like, for me, it's like, first of all, I was like, Halle Berry directed it. Got to see it. Because, I mean, for what she brought to the screen, I mean, she's got scenes that you'll never forget. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the earlier stuff, it's like, wow, like Halle, when you see her as a crackhead, like, and then you find out who she is, this beautiful woman, like played like the worst possible character you can be in the hood, and like, this woman can act, and then to see that she actually directed it, so I had to see it off the bat. It's like, oh, she directed this film, and then when it first came on, you know what I mean, I'm like, yo, I don't know, I didn't believe that she was going to be the fighter. I thought it was going to be something where she was going to be a coach of a fighter. Like, you know what I mean? That's how great the makeup was. Like, she was just like, so, like, come on, man, this chick ain't fighting nobody. Like, she's done. They even had the muffin chop. The muffin, she had muffin chops. And then what do they call them? Muffin chops, muffin something, when your belly goes over the belt.
Yes, yes.
Muffin top.
Use a model. Huh?
Muffin top. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so I was like, wow, I didn't know if it was a model or if it was actually a transformation, but and then for to watch it progress into what it was and the storyline, I was pretty much hooked. I was like, I'm gonna watch the rest of this, because I judge all movies like in that first 5-6 minutes, like, am I into this? I love the gritty way it was shot, everything about the film was pretty cool, even though you knew about
the sports drama.
Right. It's a sports film. Some tropes are coming. Yeah.
Yes, but it was definitely a good watch for me.
I mean, I'm a Halle fan, so I definitely wanted to see what she was going to make happen with her directorial debut. And at first, I was kind of like, oh, here we go, Halle. This gonna be gritty, dirty Halle. We're gonna see Halle just being, on her, I'm a hood girl, whatever. She's trying to get out by not always being the pretty girl. But as it went on, I felt like she made some really informed choices about how she wanted to be portrayed at this stage of her life. The fact that she really took her time in crafting this character who had some dysfunction, and you got a sense of it. And as Bree said, it was shot in a very gritty, realistic fashion. I really feel like she said a lot of things about what women go through and about the scars and the dysfunctions that we have to contend with in this world. And in her world, she was able to contend with them by literally being able to have some catharsis through this very physical sport that she was involved in. And then, as the director, you oversee all aspects of production. What really made this film win for me is that they casted the most adorable child in the universe to be her estranged son. And so once that little boy, Danny Boy Jr., I think is his name, but check that. Once he got on screen and started interacting with her, and you just sort of lost yourself in this kid's eyes, and the way, because he's mute, and I don't think I'm giving anything away, he really doesn't speak for the most of the film, that the kid just emoted in a way that was so compelling, that went along with that story of generational trauma that also played out in her life. And so watching her kind of try to contend with how do I keep my son that I haven't even been involved with from just becoming the same tortured person that I am, I've got to step up at this stage in my life.
I'm going to say I liked it, but it was just okay for me. Because it was sort of like the Isley Brothers. Here we go again. You know, Halle doing the Monsters Ball thing, you know. 10 minutes in, you know, she's having a rough sex scene with her manager, and
it wasn't 10 minutes.
50 minutes in, she's having a lesbian sex scene, and here we go again. Halle trying to get this Oscar. You know, I much prefer the sweet, serene, you know, Halle. You know, I don't know what she's got to prove, but I like to see her as America's Princess Halle Berry, not gritty Brick City, raised from the dirt. I'm gonna kick everybody's butt. I got family issues, kind of thing. Because I don't believe that's who she is. If you're saying that's who she is because she's a great actress and she can go to those places, then I'll give you that. But I mean, ultimately the movie works, and that's
right.
You know, and again, for Netflix, I think it's a good watch. You know,
right.
It felt like something. It reminded me a lot of Girl Fight, Michelle Rodriguez's debut, and a lot of other movies that were from like the late '90s and
Million Dollar Baby.
Million Dollar Baby, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, but on a lower budget than Million Dollar Baby. And what's interesting to me about this film is that there's not an opponent. Like, we never really get to know the opponent that she's facing. Her opponent is herself. Right. You know, so it's really a character piece, and it's very well drawn and deliberate. I feel like the film, it's a long film. It's over 2 hours, but a lot of the scenes feel like they flash by, like moments that I wish they had stayed longer and given you more of the feeling. I would have preferred, but then there are also silent moments that fill in those gaps that are really well drawn as well. Like, you know, when like the initial love, well, it's only one love scene with, well, not to spoil it, but you know, in the love scenes, and there's a moment where she goes and she gives, like, you can tell it's like her last dollar she gives to this woman who's playing violin, and that was a nice bridging sequence to help develop her character. Like little moments like that, I wish they'd spent more time with instead of just flashing through the story, you know. So it felt a little odd to me, but I think when you center it on the fact that it's not really about Halle getting ready for the big fight, it's really about Halle learning to get a shot at redemption, to what her ultimate goal is, to redeem herself. The beginning of the film, you see her literally crawling out of the ring of an MMA fight. So ultimately it's about, you know, going for it and going the distance is ultimately her goal.
But was it really, or was it her learning how to find love amidst all this chaos? In the sense that this child comes along and now you have something else that you have something you have to protect. You have something that you have to be a better person for. And I think what fascinated me about this film, yes, you referenced Girl Fight and we've seen Million Dollar Baby, but if I remember, because Girl Fight's been a long time now, it seemed like they were male protagonists that were there to make this, you know, female fighter happen or whatever it was. Whereas in this film, Halle's working with not much. I mean, there is a guy in that film that's like a manager promoter guy, but he's not very central to the action. The kid and the relationship with the mother and how she has to show up for this child, I think was really more what it was than her trying to find this redemption in the ring. Though I think that was part of it.
But they're intertwined.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
They're intertwined. The part of the reason why, not to give things away, you know, but part of the reason why she lost the match was directly tied to her losing the son, or custody of the son.
Right.
You know, so for her to have a second shot at both, I think is where the story's going. And you know, ultimately to build that communication with the son, to reconnect with the son is the story. It's not really about the fight is secondary, but it's great to see Halle Berry in tremendous shape for
a
woman of a certain age. You know, she could kick my butt. So I don't want to say anything too harsh about Halle Berry because she might beat me up.
Halle is 55 and she killed that role. Although I think this was done 2 or 3 years ago, but 55 to be able to get in, even in a film ring with the woman who plays her opponent, whose name I'm not going to try to mispronounce, but who I believe is in the MMA world, you know, for real, to even do a film with that woman and the choreography that you have to go through. And I think Halle was injured in this film in the making of this film, but you know,
yeah, I read that somewhere.
I just
Valentina Shevchenko.
Yes, I just think that we see these gritty up from the, you know, dirt and the trauma and the challenge, and when it comes to the physicalness of it, those stories are mostly told by men. So tropes, yes, but tropes that we've seen and we recognize, maybe not as consistently from a woman's point of view. So much of the film, I felt, told something or said something about women and the struggles that we deal with. And that, again, these are, you know, the things that are just coming from a more female centric point of view. But a lot of the film is just about who you show up for and who shows up for you. Because even the mother in the film, who is like, I'm done with you, and, you know, they have a very dysfunctional past, the mother still shows up for Halle's character, Jackie, and for the son. And, you know, there are people in the film, the love scene that we were talking about, where someone that's unexpected shows up for her. So Halle has to, or Jackie has to, in the course of this film, figure out really how to love herself, how to show up for this kid who is in need of someone to show up for him. And so some of the scenes that we see where the dysfunction is about to repeat, that she herself has to recognize, I don't want my child to grow up the same way that I did without anyone to protect me. So it's a lot of layers to this too, that I think Halle plays very well and directs very well.
Right. So he's like the baby cub to her.
With his cute little, he just was such a beautiful little boy, you know. And in terms of acting, you know, kids
but the thing, this is the thing. Maybe I've seen too many Halle Berry movies. I felt like it was quoting Monsters Ball, because in that movie she had the son who was overweight, who recently passed away. Rest in peace, the actor who played her son in Monsters Ball. But you know, he was, well, he had a weight problem, and she was like beating him up, and I just said, oh, this feels like the same thing to me, you know.
Well, I think because in this film, she, you know, they're just, again, there are these layers of how dysfunction is generational, and how if she stays where we see her at in the beginning of the film, this kid's life is going to be not good, and she's going to check out of it. And so much is said so many times in the film about how she's checked out before, how she hasn't been there before. So when you just look at the overall concept of people showing up for you, and in the ways they show up for you or don't show up for you, you know, the MMA fighting is just a sense of the brutality that we have to sometimes contend with and deal with out in this world as women. We're dealing with it from men. We're dealing with it in our own homes, sometimes from our own parent, because whatever it is that they dealt with, from our own family, because there's a scene that we talk about that. So the fighting becomes maybe a metaphor for all of that, that you always feel like as a woman, you often feel like you're unprotected. You often feel like you're fighting yourself, the world, and everything else. And, you know, as a Black woman, certainly, because we're dealing with racism. We're dealing with our men coming home and dealing with the challenges of racism and taking it out on us, or expecting us, you know, conversely, to give them a whole heap of support that we're not getting ourselves. So I think, obviously, it's a movie. You don't want to read all kinds of extra stuff into it, but I think Halle is saying here you know, there's this brutality that I can get off of my, get out through these physical challenges. You see all these crazy workout scenes. And if you watch Halle on Instagram, you know that she's up to it because she's always working out on Instagram and she's in great shape. But again, how do we show up? Who do we show up for? Who shows up for us that can sometimes be unexpected as is portrayed in the film? And how does that all play out in the life of women? Because not to give it away, but it's ambiguous how things will continue, even in the denouement of the film.
Right, but the key scene for you, it seems to be, is the confrontation with the mother. That solidifies her struggle.
I actually, there was a very brutal review. We're talking about the brutality of the movie. There was a very brutal review that I think, I don't know what it is now. It's an Ebert, the Ebert site that was Siskel and Ebert. And the one, I didn't agree with the review. I thought it was unnecessarily harsh for what he saw. But the part of the review I agreed with is that scene went too quickly. And it just was dropped in there. And then we moved on to something else. And that was a trope that I didn't think it had to be that level of dysfunction for her to even be as traumatized as she was, although it certainly is an explanation for it. But I also felt that, there's enough issues between mothers and daughters. It doesn't always have to go down to that, one thing that we all hear about so many times in films and in, but it happens in real life. It does. So I can't say that stopped it for me. But I think if there was a pivotal scene, I would say, to me, the scene that was pivotal was the one between her and the first boyfriend, when she understood what the child was being, that there was something that the child was tied to that this guy wanted to take from him, and in a way that was so cruel and seemed to be for no reason. And so when she recognized that was the level at which he was dysfunctional, talking about the boyfriend, that at that point she was like, oh no, I can't, because my son is going to turn out to be just as troubled and hurt as I am if I don't make some changes here. And if MMA fighting is my avenue to do that, then I got to step up and I got to do it, not just for me, but for him, for the both of us. We got to figure this out. I've got to show up this time, or I'm just gonna make
can't keep running away.
Exactly.
Breeze, you got to record me.
I got to record you. Come on in, brother. Auto tune is on deck.
Don't do it. Pro Tools can't help that.
Auto tune this review. Breeze, what are your thoughts?
There's a few thoughts. There's things I would have liked to see, would like to have seen. I would have liked to have seen, and maybe it's a budget constraint, I would have liked to have seen the child's life in the school. You just drop them off at the front door and whatever, and then everything else is just silence. And it's like, okay, well, how's a silent child dealing in school? And again, I'm always on black young men, because I see all around me the craziness that I see. And so I wanted to see some more of the kid and his experience in school. And I thought, to see her progress, and almost like in Rocky V, I keep bringing that up. There's a scene where Rocky is doing something special with the guy he's working with, but at the same time, his son is being improved at the same time. So you got both of them moving forward. I would have loved to see the child, as a result of her actions, getting better in the school situation. We just saw the scene where, he was kind of the embarrassing scene for the kid. That was, I would have loved to see him transcend that and go from, one state and then get to another state because of what Halle is doing. That's just how I think. And I thought that was kind of like, also, there was the question as to whether or not the boyfriend, was it the alcohol or was it his personality? And so to me, that was a big question, without giving too much away, but it was a question.
Well, it seems like she's
the alcohol or the man, and which would have been, the alcohol would have been his dysfunction, not his personality, where Halle's dysfunction is because of one thing, And that's probably, you know, I mean, you could think like, okay, well, that would bring them together. They both have a dysfunction. One's, you know, the alcohol problem. One's the, you know, her not achieving a goal for whatever reason. Did they state why she gave the child up? Because I just heard you say earlier that it was lost in custody.
I don't even think it seemed like she just abandoned the kid
because it was left in the air.
Well, there's two scenes when the mother brings her to her and says like, look, this is the kid you left behind.
I got that part. I'm talking about why.
And then later she says the night I lost him is the same night that I lost the fight.
But they never said why.
Okay.
They never say why, what the circumstances were, other than
I just heard you said
the father was a cop and all that other stuff.
But I didn't know whether she voluntarily gave it up or it was taken from her. Seemed like she voluntarily gave the kid up.
The mother's response to her in the conversation that they had seemed that Hallie abandoned the kid.
Okay.
And that the father took the kid over, but you're not ever sure. I don't think that they spell it out entirely, but I could have just not heard that part.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, and but yeah. So it was for me. The fighting was awesome. I mean, it was rocky. It was rocky.
Yeah.
It was awesome. The fight scene in the club was just wow. That's when I went. See, I got this, like, we watch a movie. It's like, okay, am I gonna watch this whole thing? That was when I went and got the food. Okay, pause this. Pause this. Hallie whooping butt. That's what I wanted to look. I'm like, that's what I wanted to see. Whether I thought she was gonna be coach or fighter, I wanted to see Hallie get gritty and do her thing. And that scene in that club, I didn't know exactly how it was gonna go or which way it was gonna go, but it was just like, wow. Like the cinematography for that was just done. The editing, because editors don't get enough. They don't get enough credit.
They do not.
But the editing for the fight scene was just so dope. I mean, even the way they shot, like I like the way they shot when she was running out of the ring. That whole first person shooter video game kind of aspect to it, and I thought that was creative. And but that first fight scene is when I said, okay, pause this. Let me get the food. It's time. We dug in. We're gonna watch the rest of this. And so for me, like I said, with the kid was definitely concerned about like more. I wanted to know more. I wanted to see more. Now would it be a trope if the violin, giving the money to the violinist is a save the cat trope?
Yes,
I think
so. It's a little bit of a trope.
Kind of is, but it comes late. It comes a little late in the movie for it to be Save the Cat.
That's a trope.
Oh, okay, it's too late. Okay.
Save the Cat would be earlier in the movie to show that she's nice.
Even though she doesn't, because she didn't seem to have enough money to give a violinist money, but she did it anyway. And that's how I kind of looked at it as I know about Save the Cat, and I was like, yeah, but I guess you're right. In terms of the time, because you really didn't know. I guess you really didn't know what type of person she was until as it went along, because it was some. Right. So it was definitely some.
It is a Save the Cat. I mean, the Save the Cat usually comes around the time when she got fired, like in the first 5 minutes or so of the movie. Like she's you see her anger problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wish she would have told the guy what the kid did.
Yeah.
Like I wish she would have said something. Like, I mean, this guy was a jerk. That little kid was a jerk. He was in there filming her. Yeah, whatever. Like, so it's like,
yeah.
That's the dynamic of when you work those kinds of jobs, that that if you're working in some wealthy woman's house or wealthy couple's house, that you said that their precious child did something, it's going to be your fault. You're going to get fired anyway.
Yeah, but it's documented. He got a phone.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I'm thinking into it too much. It was provable. No, you don't have a phone. She destroyed it. I'm sorry.
Right. No, but
you're right. You're right.
But before she destroyed it, she could have taken the phone from the kid and shown the evidence. But
yes,
at the end of the day,
yes.
Who's gonna lose? Who's really gonna lose from that, though? Yes, your kid is a creep,
but she's still gonna lose the job because
exactly.
But yeah,
so that establishes empathy for the character in a sense that she was unjustly dismissed. But I mean, I'm trying to think where the Save the Cat.
Though that whole thing was glossed over, and I thought should have been made because even the guy asked why you lose this job, or like how'd you lose this job. If she'd have just said that, every man in the world would have,
then there would have been no movie.
Yeah,
Wesley would have not been able to do what he did.
5-minute movie.
But still in all, when you are poor, and not when you're low income or low middle class, when you are poor, you don't have the agency that people have that have better financial choices.
Yeah.
So she tells, and I'm gonna keep the maid or the house cleaner who's told me that my kid is a creep. The kid was a creep. So I'm gonna keep you, and what am I gonna do? Get rid of him? I can't. So I gotta get rid of you. He's a creep. Maybe I get him some treatment, but how do they then work together?
Yeah.
So
we don't work. We don't work together well as a unit.
Right. So you're going whether you tell or not. So that's just
I just wanted the little jerk to be told on, beat up, smacked around. I wanted to see him later on and MMA him in like the mall or something.
You wanted some consequences for that creepy shit. That's what it was.
That's all. But I understand to set it up and give you a sense of empathy. I think
that's your Save the Cat moment right there.
Okay.
Where you feel empathy because she was unjustly fired. The audience feels empathy for her character at that point, but you also her character's revealed as having a hot temper at that moment also.
Yeah,
like she still has some fight.
I always talk about what I would love to see. I would have loved to see him standing in the doorway, right? And she looks at him to let him know that she knows, but she's not going to say anything. And then I think that would have been more of an obvious Save the Cat, because I didn't really look at it like that until you just said it. But if she'd have looked in his eyes, knowing that, you know what I mean, knowing what he had done, and if his mother found that out, and then she just like looks and then walks off and lets him keep his secret and just loses
but her whole character development was that she was a loose cannon. Like the only time she could win a fight was if she was angered. Was if she was angered. So you have to reveal like she's a very short temper about things.
Over the top, and so that just established like her personality. Like she can't even keep a cleaning job for.
Well, what did you guys think about Budokan? I mean, this is an actress I hadn't really seen before, but
Budokan.
She's the trainer. She was very compelling on screen, and I think they wrote her that way. But I think an androgynous British female who presents as a lesbian is not a character that you see every day. And I think similar to the BET show 20s, the one that's based on Lena Waithe, loosely based on Lena Waithe, you don't think that you would be interested necessarily in the stories that may not have been presented to you in the past until they're presented to you through these characters, right? So you're watching it and you get into the rhythm of the film and you're like, wow, she's such a compassionate character. And so all these other things that you may be like, I don't know if I'm that interested in this, person or whatever, that you can learn to enjoy people through a character, I think makes a difference in the world, actually. I just know that there are characters in movies that have shown sides or shown things that I'm not familiar with, or I don't know that world. And because of the way that the characters play, you just get into that character, and it doesn't matter what they present as or who they are. It matters what they are bringing to the story.
Well, yeah, that brings up a good point. I mean, the cast is very diverse. There no Caucasians really in this movie at all. So I guess
what's my man's name that is in every Black film as the Black
Stephen McKinley Henderson.
Oh my God, this guy, he was in Fences.
Mr. Fences.
I mean, we talk, there over time have been so many white character actors that were just so well known. You know, I think you look at someone like J.K. Simmons, who his star has risen in recent years because of these high profile roles and getting an Oscar for Whiplash. But for years and years, he's that guy who's this character actor who's in every film and you know his face, but you never know his name, but he's just there for, you know, whatever the role requires. And this is Stephen McKinley?
Henderson.
Stephen McKinley. He's this, every time you see him, you're like, yes.
Yeah, he was just in something else I just watched. Freckle Face.
Everything.
They got mixed him up with the guy in The Wire. He's not the guy in The Wire. It's another light skinned guy in The Wire.
Oh, that's Brian Anthony Wilson.
From Philly. No, it's not Brian. It's a bigger role. It's not Brian. It's a bigger role. This guy control like a whole neighborhood with drugs and stuff. But he reminds me of this guy. I always get people wrong. But I just saw another movie prior to this one.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, all the actors are very strong. You know, you can tell she cast it with an eye to being challenged. You know, the boyfriend, I think, is Aiden Canto. He was
good.
A piece of crap.
Oh, Fences. Okay, you did say that. Fences. I remember from Fences really well.
Yeah, he's in Fences.
Denzel's friend.
Boyfriend is a piece of crap. I'm like, Hallie, you can do better.
Right.
Maybe I'm just jealous, Hallie. I don't know.
Oh, Mike.
Huh? It was a good job. It was a good job. And for a Netflix subscription for this weekend to be able to see two of our biggest, brightest stars at home doing good work.
And 1 and 2 on Netflix. They were the True Story was #1 over the weekend, according to Netflix, and Bruise was #2. So when I saw that, I felt a sense of pride that the multitude of stories that are being told, because now we have so many more stories. So many, you know, you're saying you want to see Hallie in the princess role and all of that, but now you can see Hallie as an MMA fighter because someone's telling a story about a Black MMA fighter. That's wonderful. That's what you want. You want to see that expansion. And I have to say, too, it was interesting what Bree said about being brought in by the brutality of that initial fight scene in the Fight Club thing that they were doing, because we think of, once again, male directors directing those kinds of super brutal scenes. And in that initial scene, and also in the one where she goes back into the ring, those fight scenes were on point. You felt like you were in the ring with her.
Yeah, they did an excellent job.
Okay, so
like, wow, this is a fight.
And it's a challenge also because it's hard. I mean, we've seen so many boxing movies. It's hard to bring something new to the table. So I give it credit. You know, if I gave True Story a 7, I'll give this one, just for Hallie's performance, I'll boost my vote to an 8. I think it's worth seeing just to see Hallie transform herself into this fighter. She's present in every scene. And even though it's a predictable story as far as sports movies go, I think they bring something new to the table in terms of the kid relationship, the Charlie Chaplin, the kid relationship that she has with her estranged son. I thought that was done well. Well, it is. I mean, look, I've seen a lot of movies. You know, it's
right. We like, you know, sports movies are tropes almost always. If you see a sports movie that is different, because what we want in a sports movie are those tropes. We want those things that say, you know, there's this really heroic football team that made it to the finals and then they win or they lose in dignity or whatever it is, you know. So I think sports are where tropes are probably the most acceptable.
I'm just glad they didn't do this trope.
they almost did. They almost did.
I can't stand that dude. That one I hate.
I think they almost did though. They almost did.
And they looked around and that's like 40,000 people clapping. Like, you know, I think it was well done. And just her, you know, she's a great actress, man. Like she was that character for me.
Oh, she definitely became that character.
She was definitely a character. I was like, yo, this is a worst. This is a worst see, man. It was refreshing. Both of these things were refreshing. Just because, I mean, I know it's a trope and everything, but to see, you know, Halle, because I'm getting so tired of like superhero movies. I can't even like we watching what was it? One of these Venom or something. They're becoming so 3D that the human element is almost disappearing, like to the point where I can't even watch it. So to see something this gritty and still have the same energy, you know, I watched Venom like this, like just bite the guy's head off, like it's like they almost. It's just like so. This for me, this was awesome, and then to see her act that way, it's like wow. I mean, I know I've seen her. I mean, being a crackhead is definitely a step below being being an ex MMA fighter, but
a couple steps below.
But it was dope. It was
and
nice.
That's what drives me crazy about Halle Berry. It's like you go down the list. It's just like how low can you go? You know,
man. But if you look at it from the standpoint of awards, it seems like we got to be at our worst in order to get one. So if that's what she's shooting for, I mean, look at Denzel. He's got.
I think she's trying to work something out. That's what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
But this is also the woman who played Dorothy Dandridge, and she was in Queen, and she played Jinx in don't forget, she was a fabulous Bond girl. So she's done her share of glamorous roles. And I think, you know, this, in establishing herself as a director, even more than an actress, she's going to be offered some more opportunities that are in line with probably where she is now. You know, they say, you know, at 55, you can't be the ingenue forever.
Right.
And if you just want to play, you know, I'm sure she could have some upscale role. I would love to see Halle in a family drama where she plays a matriarch of some kind. Sure, that would be great. But in the fact that she took this movie, she got it done, she got the Netflix deal, she made it, she directed it, people like it for the most part. This is going to allow her to expand on her opportunities and to be able to facilitate more projects for herself and for others. So I think that in itself is what is going to turn out to be the real advantage to her.
I would love to see her continue to make movies. I mean, it's been disappointing. Let's say we had a video, is there an Oscar curse? You know, I think with Halle Berry, you know, her promise was never fully articulated in terms of after she won the Oscar. The opportunities didn't come her way to continue the same way they would for George Clooney or Leonardo DiCaprio or something, you know, on the male side of her caliber, you know.
But everybody's career is trash after they win an Oscar. People want Oscars so bad, and every single best actress or best actor winner of the Oscars goes on to career obscurity or just disappears from the scene. I mean, where's Hilary Swank now? And she won 2. Gwyneth Paltrow, Julia Roberts, none of them have done projects since their Oscars that have been really much of anything. Maybe Kate Blanchett. Maybe Kate Blanchett is the exception. Maybe what's her name? This other one that was in Oceans, the woman's Oceans. What's her name? Sandra Bullock, who's now got herself a gritty Netflix movie. So, you know, it's just, even with the best supporting actors and actresses, it's the Oscars is the weirdest thing that everybody wants, and then your career goes straight to the toilet afterward.
Right. But you know, I hope this opens a door for her to be able to make more work, and you know, because I think she's still in her prime as far as I'm concerned. She's still at that high level. And as much as I enjoyed movies like The Call and the you know, that kind of stuff where you know, the one where she's chasing down the kidnapper of her kid and all that other stuff, I remember that. It's interesting to see her in this sphere. So
I just like actors stepping into that. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I like actors just stepping out of acting and getting on the money side. That's just for me. I think some people just stay in the same thing far too long, and it has a lot to do with why we don't advance. You know, this guy's probably get approached, like actors get approached to do projects, direct projects, and say, "Oh, I'm an actor. I don't do that." And for her to step out and bravely go and direct and get on that side, get on the decision making side, the money making side, and like even the thing I'm seeing with
Well, she's been producing for a while.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
she's been involved in the
that's what I tell you. When I heard director, I'm in. That was that. You know, I'm like I want to see more Black folks doing stuff like on the.
No, I think what Tanya's saying is on point. That, you know, as her career evolves, you know, she's not going to want to be in front of the camera all the time. So to show that she can direct something as well, I think is great. I mean, like Clint Eastwood is your prime example.
Yeah,
you know, that man is in his 90s, damn near, and he's still making movies. So
he's 1,000 years old, and he's still the baddest thing to come on television.
Right.
Yeah. Oh wait, hang on. Let me.
Gran Torino.
Wait, hang on. I got to tell our viewers. So Google Clint Eastwood varicose veins, and that man is still making movies.
Dude. Well, you know he's in another one of those kind of movies. I just saw a trailer for.
He loves the angry white man movies.
I love it.
Disgruntled white man.
I love that I ain't bothering nobody and got pulled into it movie. I love it. If that's a trope, give it to me every day. I wasn't bothering nobody, and I got pulled in. Whether it's because I don't want to see a small person getting bullied by a bigger person. Oh, the Big Little thing in Bruised, I absolutely adored. I absolutely adored. Like it was just like wow, like I would have never thought to say that to a kid in that way. I thought, you know, maybe I haven't seen enough films to know or read enough books to see anybody who's used it the way that she used it. But that left an impression. I was really like, wow, like Big and Little. That was so dope. That was so dope. You know what I mean? And then for it to end up being, you know, I don't want to spoil the movie, but you know, when the kid says something that was just that touched that the man tears was falling at that point. At the end of the film. So
Breeze, you got me feeling like a hater. Okay.
Nah, bro. You're looking at it from a technical standpoint. I'm looking at it from just kind of a different type of standpoint. Like you're the professional. I'm just the guy. I watch this stuff and I deal with how it makes me feel. You know what I mean? And it's so and what and again, like what I think I would have liked to see. And that's why I'm so fascinated with trying to make films, because I think you have to have an agenda to make a film, you know, and I'm always thinking about ways to apply my agenda in a way that's still entertaining, you know, and you can, so it's not too preachy in the whole 9 yards. And I just thought that said so much about that dynamic.
Right.
And I think Halle's agenda in a lot of these movies that she picks is to try to heal generational trauma. But I think sometimes I get uncomfortable because she's exposing so much stuff, you know.
But also protection. I think protection has a lot to do with her films. And again, maybe just seeing it from the female centric point of view, that you know, that we struggle as women sometimes with feeling protected by our men, by the world, by the people who are supposed to be protecting us, like the police and all of that. So there's a lot of an element of this is what people have to be protected in order, or feel protected in order to grow into functioning human adults that are not filled with trauma. And so that's very much a lesson of the movie, showing up, protecting the vulnerable.
Right. You know, I can see that. I can see that thread in even her most commercial stuff.
Right. Exactly. So that's clearly an element that she is working with or working through. And then, you know, just the human condition. You know, I think so many fight films are about the human condition, and we see fighting or we see battle and triumph as a way to get through or past some of these challenges in the human condition. And again, I think sports films are trope happy for a reason, because I think it's Will Smith that said the ending of the film is what you walk away with after the 2 hours that you've sat in the dark to watch it. And if that ending, as Breeze was saying, makes you feel warm-hearted, makes you feel good, then in a sports movie you have you've accomplished your goal, because that at its element, as we were all just checking out the Eagles earlier, there's an element of gladiators and triumph and overcoming the odds, and we're holding this trophy or this win or this whatever, and it just makes, we're all a part of it. We cheered this team on, and we cheered this fighter on, and really that runs a little bit through both Bruised and True Story, because Gene's character is one who was, basically a guy cheering somebody on, and then how it all plays out, and the levels of feeling that he had just from watching someone else's success and following it along. So I think it all wraps up together.
Yeah, I think so. It was a good weekend for watching movies. If people haven't had a chance yet, I guess these both True Story and Bruised get high recommendations if you have Netflix. If not, get The Password from your friend, because this is definitely one that you want to check out when you're not checking this out. Well, yeah, Fire Stick, all that stuff. Black Friday sale.
Get the real black password, okay? Mike's gonna give.
I'm not giving out my password. No,
1.
I'm sorry, you got to get your own. Everybody's got a friend. If you ain't got a friend with Netflix that can hook you up, then you ain't got no friends.
Yeah,
so you don't need it from me. All right. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And these are my friends. I should say, I should wrap that up. These are my friends, and thanks for taking the time to share your thoughts about these movies with us.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you. Man. Support and protect real black, y'all.
By all means.